Seeing Yesterday for me was a rabbit hole that I don't even know how I fell into. There was just something about it that caught my eye. I started watching it, and it went right down the list, checking all of the boxes I was looking for at the time. It features a full adult cast who actually act like adults. It takes itself seriously, so no goofy exaggerated faces. It's a heartwarming romance story with a melancholic atmosphere that focuses on characters' internal struggles just as much as their difficulties with love. One of the girls reminds me of Misaki from Welcome to the NHK, one of my favorite anime and manga series. To make things even more interesting, around episode 6 I realized the manga was written by the author of another manga that I enjoyed and also reviewed, Lament of the Lamb. So if you're wondering why I didn't upload anything last week, it's because I watched a 12-episode anime, then read an 11-volume manga, and then had to do my taxes. Today's video will be a spoiler-free review of both the central story shared between these two as well as the comparisons between both versions. Seeing Yesterday for me is a multi-character narrative displaying numerous perspectives but primarily focusing on Rikuo, a college graduate who struggles to find his footing in the real world. He's passionate about photography but doesn't have the confidence, motivation, or determination to actually do anything with it, so he stalls by working at a convenience store. I really appreciated his character because there's something relatable about the condition of knowing your interest but not knowing what to do with it. I worked in retail for almost 10 years until I realized I could make money doing anime reviews. Speaking of which, hope you don't mind if I jangle my donation cup a little. I don't want to go back. Rikuo's romantic life is equally deadlocked. Sure, there are plenty of beautiful women around, but he only has eyes for his former classmate Shinako. Despite not having seen her for several years, she still occupies his thoughts. Rikuo's monotonous and repetitive existence is quickly overhauled as he's reintroduced to his sweetheart, who recently transferred into town for a teaching position. Additionally, he's introduced to Haru while feeding crows expired or rejected food behind the store. Haru is easily my favorite character in the series, and she's also the one who reminds me of Misaki from Welcome to the NHK. Like Misaki, Haru is a playful, upbeat, and charismatic woman who tries her hardest to remain positive despite her inner despair. Haru is a misunderstood high school dropout. During school, she decided to live alone in a vintage house inherited to her by her grandparents. Her reasoning for doing so was to escape family problems, but in order to maintain that lifestyle, she needed a job. Unfortunately, there's some kind of rule in Japan that prevents high school students from working, so she was given an ultimatum: either quit or drop out, and I guess she saw the benefits of living alone to be greater than the benefits of completing high school, so she dropped out. The plot of Sing For Me Yesterday is a perpetual series of love triangles, the main of which being Haru, who likes Rikuo, Rikuo who likes Shinako, and Shinako who is struggling to cope with a traumatic event that leaves her emotionally unavailable. If you enjoy love triangles, then you'll definitely enjoy this because there's a ton of them. As the story unfolds, new characters get introduced who become interested in the main characters, and even those characters have other characters who like them. Yo dog, I heard you like love triangles, so we put love triangles in love triangles so you can ship while you ship. But seriously though, if you don't like love triangles, it's still a good story, but you might want to stick to the anime, unless you're a big manga reader, which brings us to the differences between the anime and the manga. I don't consider myself to be a big manga reader, but I thought the story was interesting, I like the original creator, and I wanted an excuse to read more manga. If you want to know which version is right for you, sadly there's no clear answer. Fans of the manga would disagree, but I don't consider either of these versions to be objectively superior, so you'll have to listen to what I have to say about each and come to your own conclusions based on your interests. In addition to its romantic appeal, the story also focuses on numerous characters' internal struggles as well as family-related complications. I consider this to be a welcome addition because some romance stories make it seem like the characters' lives revolve around the love interest. Not only does this diversify the plot, but it also adds a great degree of character development. Unfortunately, the anime forgoes much of this character development in order to save time. Although many of the same events transpire, the journey which inspired them remains absent, and so too the development that accompanied it in the manga. It really comes down to your degree of sensitivity to these sort of narrative issues. When watching the anime, I felt that the pacing was a little too jarring and that some events were being skipped due to the inconsistent passage of time. Then, when I read the manga, I realized how right I was. The anime primarily develops Rikuo and Shinako. Haru receives development, but to a much lesser extent. The manga, on the other hand, develops everyone more. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. I'm talking about the tertiary characters who like the side characters who like the main characters. It is everyone, just not to the same degree. The manga gives page time to each character in correlation to their importance to the story. Naturally, the main characters get a lot of love as well. I honestly felt like the anime did a massive disservice to Haru because she has numerous crucial moments which define her personality in the manga, and all of them are either skipped, changed, or expedited in the anime. The anime is basically a shorthand version of the manga. The manga is 11 volumes long. The first 11 episodes of the anime cover like 6 volumes, and the last episode covers the rest by introducing a non-canon analog to stitch together the massive plot holes that would have existed otherwise. Let that sink in. The last episode covers content from the last 5 volumes. That's not a spoiler, by the way. I didn't tell you what happens. Not only is the second half of the manga poorly adapted, but there were already moments in the first 2 or 3 volumes that were never adapted. In my opinion, these moments were so important that they changed the way I saw the story and its characters. It's like this throughout the entire manga. There's so much content missing that you could bundle up the developmental scenes for each of the side characters alone and make a new anime just for them. It's really sad because the specific moments they chose to faithfully adapt in the anime were panel perfect and animated beautifully. If only it were 24 episodes long, I would have rated it a 9 out of 10. I don't know the specifics of anime creation, and honestly, I don't care. I'm like a selfish glutton who doesn't care how the noodles are cooked as long as they're delicious. The way I see this anime is that it's a product with tremendous potential created by incredibly skilled artists that will forever be flawed. The anime is from 2020, so it's likely that they had problems with COVID, but even then, I feel the anime's pacing was a problem from the very start, so in my opinion, this is a planning issue. If you want to make a panel-perfect adaptation, then make a panel-perfect adaptation. If you want to change things, then change things enough to make it work. Don't jerk me around so much that I don't know how many weeks or months have transpired between episodes. That being said, I don't think any source material is perfect. I don't mind changes as long as they work. I'm only being hard on the anime because many of its changes didn't. However, the anime has several strengths that make certain parts of it even better than the manga. For starters, its presentation is immaculate. I wish more anime would look as consistently beautiful and mature as this. Seeing Yesterday for me feels like an early Makoto Shinkai movie turned into a series, and I love it. That being said, the manga also has its own distinct art style that I really like. I think Kei Tomei's art style works beautifully for deep introspective characters with a melancholic tone due to her heavy usage of shading and accurately articulating facial expressions. Another important aspect that shines in the anime is tone. You know what's weird? I liked Rikuo in the anime, but I absolutely hated him in the manga, and to be honest with you, I don't know which version is supposed to be right because it's all jaded by my interpretation of his tone due to voice acting. Throughout the series, Rikuo rejects Haru's advancements and he's not nice about it. In the anime, it came off as sarcasm, light teasing, or possibly him building a wall because he's unsure of his emotions. You could tell that he cared about Haru as a person, but in the manga, he's a downright asshole because the text is just text. It looks like he seriously wants nothing to do with her and doesn't care about her. Honestly, this was my biggest complaint about the manga. Not every main character needs to be likable, but Rikuo creates so much negativity that it starts to suck the life away from the story. I started hoping Haru, my favorite character, would end up with one of the tertiary characters because they treated her much better. To make things worse, it's 11 volumes. I'll admit, I'm a light manga reader. 11 volumes might be nothing to you, but to me it's a lot, especially in a week. I feel that there wasn't enough balance between the positive and negative emotions throughout the manga. I'm not saying that I want it to be 50-50 positive and negative. 80-20 would be fine. I'll even settle for 90-10. The love triangle is basically a tug of war with Rikuo in the middle. Sometimes he gets pulled over to Haru. I like Haru, but he's mean to her, so I can't enjoy that. Other times he gets pulled over to Shinako. He likes her, but I don't, so from my perspective there wasn't enough to feel excited about. Of course, your mileage may vary. Shinako is a very well-developed character in both the anime and manga. I think she's just kinda bland, but maybe some of you will like her. It's just a personal thing. Next up, without spoilers, I want to address its ending. Both the anime and manga have basically the same emotionally impacting ending scene, but that's where their similarities end. As I previously stated, the anime tries to adapt 5 volumes of content in the final episode. The way they do this is by skipping several crucial developmental arcs for our main characters. Those 5 volumes contain an arc that directly leads up to the ending. In my opinion, it's all connected and shouldn't be separated. Although those 5 volumes were packed with emotional moments for its characters, Rikuo managed to make me hate him even more. Although the ending scenes were both powerful, their context gives me mixed feelings. The manga had much more build-up, but I felt the payoff was far too abrupt, almost to the extent of being underwhelming. So there I was, reading chapter 112, the tension was rising and I couldn't get to the next page fast enough. I turned the page and there it was, the ending full-page panel. On one hand, I was relieved and at the same time excited, but I turned the page again and I'm like, what, is this it? I know there are 113 chapters, so I frantically flipped to the next chapter, and it's not even a direct continuation of the event or events pertaining to it. I flipped all the way through it quickly just to see if there was something connected to it, and there wasn't, so I went back and I read it in disappointment. In comparison to the anime, the scene is just as long, but the anime is only 12 episodes. Even though you're missing out on most of the build-up, I feel that the payoff is proportionate to your time investment. However, for an 11-volume manga, I expected much more. Luckily, for both the anime and manga fans, we have secret content that continues the story and provides slightly more closure. In 2020, K-Tome released several bonus chapters as promo material for the anime that take place after the ending they both share. It's not amazing, but I did enjoy it, and I do recommend that everyone check it out after finishing one version or the other. Overall, seeing Yesterday for me was a heartwarming experience. If you're interested in checking it out, I recommend starting by watching the anime. If at any point before episode 6 you feel like you really like the characters and want to learn more about them, then stop watching and read the manga from the beginning. If you're enjoying it, but not enough to read 11 volumes, then just continue watching the anime. They're both good in their own regard. And then, of course, don't forget to read the afterward chapters afterward. And by the way, that's what they're called. Sing Yesterday for me afterward. It's a few chapters. It's not even on Mal, so you're going to have to look it up separately. My overall score for the anime is a 7 out of 10, and the manga gets an 8 out of 10. The manga is a little too long. The anime is a little too short. I hated Rikuo in the manga, but the anime lacks most of the development necessary for any of its beautifully animated visuals to be as impactful as they should be. Although both of these versions have some pretty significant flaws, I think they have great potential for fans of romance. A few other stories I'd recommend would be Welcome to the NHK for its serious take on mental health issues as well as hints of romance with a woman who's similar to Haru. The anime, manga, and light novel are all amazing. I have combined reviews and a beginner's guide video pertaining to the series on my channel. Rumbling Hearts is one of my favorite romance anime because it also takes a mature approach to dating by focusing on adults who have jobs and live on their own. The anime also includes a love triangle as well. Lastly, I'd like to recommend either of the anime or manga of Genshiken. It's not exactly related, but it's basically a friendship simulator. The manga has a much better ending though. So what are your thoughts on Sing Yesterday for me? Would you like to see me review more manga? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with a friend so more can experience the wonders of anime without being spoiled. I'm not sure what I'll be reviewing next week, but I am in the middle of watching Kaito Joker and rewatching Genshiken. It could be one of those, it could be a manga, I'm not sure yet, but I'll see you next week.